Beginning in mid-June, Ohio experienced a surge of daily COVID-19 cases. As cases rise, there seems to be the emergence of two camps, vulnerable populations and healthy populations. To minimize COVID risk, everyone usually focuses on protecting the vulnerable, older adults or those with pre-existing conditions. And many young people and healthy adults might feel that they're not at risk, thinking, I'm young, so I don't have to worry. But this mindset does not take into account what is actually happening. To see why, let's look at this map. This is a COVID-19 risk assessment of Ohio. We gave each county a score from 1 to 7. The darker the shade, the higher the risk. Major cities like Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, and Cleveland are at the highest risk. Let's take a closer look to see what's going on inside cities. Cities are at high risk because people are moving around each other more. COVID-19 is spread human to human, so higher mobility leads to higher exposure. A larger population base in cities also increases the chance to be exposed to the virus. Moreover, cities already have the largest number of cases. This increases the potential to be in contact with people who are already infected or carrying the virus. We use cumulative cases to measure how hazardous a place is during the pandemic. Both exposure and hazard are factors of risk that drive cities to become hotspots. Obviously, when looking at risk, we do need to address vulnerability. But if we focus our efforts only on vulnerability, we place the emphasis on the older population, but neglect the young people moving around with higher exposure. Or focus on those with pre-existing conditions, but miss out on seemingly healthy people carrying the virus. After all, vulnerability by itself won't cause the disease, but risk of infection is amplified when the vulnerable coexist with hazard and exposure. Accounting for exposure and hazard therefore gives us a better picture of how risky places really are. Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Toledo remain high in cumulative cases, which makes them high hazard zones. On top of this, areas like southern Columbus, Toledo, and western Cleveland have high exposure because of higher mobility in parks and transit stations. The average of the increase of park visits in Toledo was 89% from January to July, and at certain periods, greater than 200%. While individuals continue to socially distance and take precautions, such mobility data reveal where weak points might be in the system and would benefit from additional interventions and support, such as signage, park regulations, or targeted patrol to ensure parks and transit stations stay open and safe. As such, there are implications on regional, state, and national decisions. For example, how and where to distribute resources is more effective if paired with a well-rounded risk assessment. The risk index can help policymakers decide the optimal number of tests and eventually vaccines for each county. Risk assessments also provide crucial information to make decisions on a more local scale when state decisions don't show the whole picture. For example, Ohio scored 0.58 out of 5 in an overall rating by Princeton University's eviction lab for failing to prevent evictions. But in areas of high risk of crowded housing, local policymakers can push for eviction moratoriums for non-payment of rent, such as the ones Toledo has enacted. This map reveals that risk isn't as simple as it seems, and that we should be conscious of the layers of risk that can worsen the social and economic problems that affect us all. In the short term, this risk assessment provides a more accurate representation of risk and geography during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the long term, analyzing risk at more detailed scales can change infrastructures that perpetuate risks and help generate more adaptive responses. Ultimately, such data can help us increase our resilience to other future hazards such as natural disasters, racial and socio-economic challenges, and diseases. A lack of preparedness and awareness of COVID-19 continues to challenge our nation. However, information, interpretation, and inspiration toward understanding and action empowers individuals with the tools to face COVID-19 and future challenges. But we must do so as a united community together.